are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Big Ten. Everything you need to know about the Big Ten Conference every single weekday. It's a Friday. We're wrapping things up with Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans, as we always do, to get a little bit of a look at the betting preview going into the weekend. What are the games you should be putting your money on? Which games should you stay away from? We'll go over every line. Not a whole lot to go into this weekend. Only 5 Big Ten games, all of them in conference, but that just makes it that much more interesting, of course, which side you're on as we match up or preview each matchup. Matt, before we get into any of that, though, you're our Locked On Spartans host. Spartans are still undefeated. Let's start right there. This team right now, number 11 in the nation, right? Am I right there? Yeah, I want to make sure.
Oh, you're right. Number 11, baby. 5-0. Let's not forget it. That's right, Nate. That's right.
4 teams in the Big Ten in the top 10. Michigan State right there on the outside, getting ready to get pushed in with a win this weekend against Rutgers. It's, of course, something we'll get to later on, but let's talk about already what Michigan State has already done. Peyton Thorne's been outstanding. Why has that been for the Spartans, Matt?
Yeah, first things first, smart player. I mean, he knows where to put the ball. He doesn't take any risks that aren't needed. Absolutely. So that's great. Second, which might be the even bigger cause for his great season so far, it's nice to have Jaden Reed and Jalen Naylor and Trey Mosley as your receivers, huh? I mean, Jaden Reed is probably one of the best receivers, not just in the conference, but in the country. And that's just not old Matt being biased to his Spartans. I mean, there are numbers to back that up. I think he leads the country in all-purpose yards when you also factor in his punt return yards. And returning 2 punts to the house in back-to-back weeks doesn't hurt as well. And it's also nice that MSU finally has a run game. I mean, we haven't seen a solid run game in quite some time here in East Lansing. And yeah, with Kenneth Walker, the offensive line is okay. It's fine. But Kenneth Walker can hide a lot of the blemishes that the offensive line has. And yeah, it's that's definitely – if not a reason, the reason MSU has stormed off to a surprising 5-0 start here. Ranked number 11. That's right. I mentioned that one more time. That's right.
Mm-hmm. What do you have to say about the skepticism around the schedule so far? I mean, you had a ranked win against Miami. That Miami team doesn't look like it's necessarily what people thought it was. Northwestern, same thing on the road to start the season. They've absolutely fallen apart. Nebraska, when you beat them, they kind of already exposed what they were. But again, it was a close win. Western Kentucky and Youngstown State, you obviously take care of easily. But going into this weekend, you're now in Big Ten play. And now strength of schedule is something people can't argue about. It's all Big Ten football. What are you feeling like people are underestimating about this Michigan State team going into the Big Ten season?
Yeah, the skepticism is widely valid, as much as I hate to say it. I mean, yeah, 5-0, and I think, once again, Nebraska is the only team that has a win against a Power 5 team. Now, it was fun in games back when we played Miami. Derek King was still the quarterback. I mean, Miami wasn't completely morally broken in half yet. I like to think Michigan State was the team that completely shattered the Hurricanes' spirits right there. But moving forward, yeah, it's a tale of two halves of the schedule. It's just from the start of the season, I thought, okay, hey, this shapes up actually pretty nice for the first 6 games for Michigan State. Did I think 6-0? Absolutely not. No, I thought like maybe 4-2. But I mean, Michigan State has shown that, yeah, even though they have beaten some bad teams, the way they've beaten the bad teams is very intriguing to me. It's like, oh my God, like we have actual weapons that are amongst the best in the conference. This is great. Now it's how far can we get with still the question marks that we have. Like I said, the offensive line, while we have depth there, we play 9 guys, which is a lot, still leaving a little bit to be desired. The defensive secondary is fine, maybe a little good, but they're nothing spectacular, but I got to say, I still pretty ecstatic with the Nebraska win. I don't think Nebraska is as bad of a team as everyone remembers from week 0. And that West Kentucky game, I lost sleep on that game throughout the week, throughout the fall, throughout the summer. I mean, they throw the ball all over the yard. So to get out of there with a win in a potential trap game spot, hey, you play who's on your schedule, you move on, you're 5-0. And we in East Lansing will not be apologizing for wins here. That is what we will not do, especially after last season with just 2 wins. We'll take anything we can get, baby. That's right. That's right.
Indiana might have helped keep those Spartans aware of just how good Western Kentucky could play as well, too. That little wake-up call the week before. Flip side of that coin there, Matt. You talk about just the things that teams might be underestimating about Michigan State, given the soft schedule. On the other hand, you mentioned a few of them, listed it all off: offensive line, secondary. Where do you feel like this team is the most vulnerable because of just a lack of being tested?
Yeah, I think it goes down to that offensive line, and I think specifically of the Nebraska game. I mean, look, Kenneth Walker, all-world running back, he's incredible, but still, like, Nebraska was able to hold him at bay for most of the game. I think it was like 3.7 yards per carry, 3.2 yards per carry. Nothing stellar from Kenneth, which is what we're used to after 5 quick games early on in the season here. So as you get into the teams, like, and not just the Penn States of the world, Ohio State, Michigan, but also Rutgers has a pretty good solid run defense as well. I mean, we saw that in the second half in their game against Michigan. Michigan has an incredible run game, and they eliminated it completely. So yeah, tomorrow's game, Spartans versus Rutgers, that is where it's going to be really interesting to see if the offensive line can make a turn and get a run game when Kenneth just can't hide all your blemishes. Like, maybe get him some holes to run through so he doesn't have to make his own all the time. That is where I remain the most worrisome with MSU here.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker in that Nebraska game, 19 for 61. I think you said it exactly, 3.2 yards per carry.
There we go. Man,
on the run.
Cool.
Yeah.
Man.
So the Spartans are 5-0, or 5-0, 4-0 when I was looking at the Nebraska game back then. That's what messed me up. But anyway, 5-0 now, 1 game away from getting in, or is it 2 games away from the Michigan game? I think, I know one team has 1 game left and the other one has a bye, but anyway.
MSU has 2 games left. Rutgers, Indiana, bye week, and then Michigan. And then Michigan has Nebraska and then 2 bye weeks because they play Northwestern in one of those weeks, which is right. You might as well just roll out your 3rd team for that game. And then, God, that was such a fun week 1, though, when MSU beat Northwestern. It's like, oh my God, we're great. But now it's like, we were just better off playing like Okemos High School down the road for that game. But hey, like I said, we will not apologize for wins here. We will not do it.
No, never. But the point being, it's 3 games away from that game now happening. Michigan State, undefeated, likely 2 top 10 teams at the very least. We asked Isaiah Hole yesterday. He said 2015 would be biggest matchup between these 2 schools up until since this point, whatever it is. Is it as big as that, bigger than that? Where do you put this game in context if it gets there?
Yeah, no, and we got a listener question just like that. This is the most highly anticipated MSU Michigan game since blank. And I think I answered it like 2-3 days ago on the pod. And if you don't mind me rambling for a little bit, I think the contrast and I'm sorry, the opposite of contrast, the comparisons with the 2015 game are incredible, but other side of the table. Michigan had an up and coming coach who started off hot. He was turning a lot of heads, being like, oh, what? He's picking up this program pretty fast. Michigan State, Mark D'Antonio, 8th year. Okay, this is a pretty good tenure going on. Things are going really well. Can the new guy top of what this established guy has been doing? Now Harbaugh, okay, he hasn't quite made it to Big Ten championship games or Rose Bowls. It wasn't as established as D'Antonio had. And yes, it's Mel Tucker in year 2 instead of year 1 for Harbaugh, but still, it's very similar with both teams in the top 15, especially. At most 1 loss. Knock on wood. Hopefully MSU doesn't drop their next 2. But yeah, I mean, it's a complete mirror image of what 2015 is going to be, except each team is in the other one's shoes here. Even with like the home and away, the new coach welcoming in the rival down the road. So yeah, that's it's 100% 2015, and just praying that we get the same result, man. Praying we get the same result.
That's going to be a great game. But we spent the last 2 days with you and Isaiah talking at least a little bit about that one that may not even happen, or we may not even get to with both teams undefeated yet. We do have an undefeated matchup, and maybe the biggest game in all of college football this season coming up this weekend, Penn State, Iowa. Matt Sheehan is going to be talking to us about that game and all the others going on this weekend in the Big Ten as we wrap up our week of coverage and help you preview the weekend on Locked On Big Ten. Built Bar has been a sponsor here at Locked On for a while. You already know all about their products. A new flavor out this week, cookie dough chunk. It's one, I mean, it just sounds good. It's one of those that just sounds really nice. Some of them, honestly, you have to sell. I'm not a huge fan of something like a coconut almond or salted caramel. Maybe that's up your alley. It's not mine. I feel like cookie dough chunk is something that just about everyone can get behind. So if you're a fan of Built Bar, you're going to want to try out this new flavor. If you haven't tried them out, now's the time to get in. Again, you're just getting cookie dough and chocolate in a protein bar that's really good for you too. Head on over to builtbar.com, and if you do end up making an order, you can use our promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. That's LOCKED15 over at builtbar.com. Built Bar is your place to go for all of your protein and energy needs, while also making sure you're staying healthy. Back in here on Locked On Big Ten, we've got everything you need to know about the conference every single weekday. We're joined by Matt Sheehan, the host of Locked On Spartans. As always, you can listen into his show at wherever you get your podcasts, just like you're listening right now, I'd imagine. And be sure to follow, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff as you listen in, and if you're a Spartans fan. Matt, we're talking Big Ten bets going into the weekend. And let's just talk general game stuff, of course, with the biggest game of the weekend in all of college football. It's Iowa and Penn State, number 3 and number 4. The winner solidifies its spot as a college football playoff contender, really, for the rest of the season, if you ask me. The loser, obviously, still far from out of it. But this is a huge game. Iowa plays Penn State not every year, of course. So this is, of course, has that factor in it too. But let's just start with your initial thoughts on this game between two teams. I've said all week, this has kind of been my tagline. It's not just that they're number 3 and number 4. It's that they're playing exactly the way they wanted to play. Like, I imagine the first 5 weeks of the season for these two teams have been mapped out and executed almost perfectly to what the coaching staffs wanted.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, my initial thought is that if this was like a neutral site game or a home game, I'm going Penn State here. However, Kinnick Stadium, like, I'm using just cliches right now. Kinnick Stadium, that is a horrifying place to play, especially if you're a top 5 team. And to go along with that, Penn State fans might want to cover your ears here. This is a stat from Chris Fallica of College Game Day fame. Boy, howdy, this is a tough stat to just read and not take anything away from. Okay, so it's James Franklin's teams are 0-7 at Penn State in true road games versus top 10 teams. Now, here's the dagger. With just one game decided by fewer than 11 points. So it's not just that they're losing these top 10 road games, as a lot of teams do. Boy, wow, that's it's more times than not kind of a bloodbath here. So I don't know. That just tied in with the fact that Kinnick Stadium, things just always go insane at night at Kinnick Stadium. And I know it's 4:30 kickoff, but it'll be dark by the time the game ends. That's right. I'm using sunlight here as a reason for picking Iowa. I'm going Iowa -1.5 here, but I love the over-under in this game too. I'm not going to pick it, but I just love when an over-under gets to like 41. It's like, oh, this is going to be Big Ten as hell, man. Oh, I can't wait for it. Oh man, yeah, give me Iowa though.
You're not the first person who brought that up, actually, and I don't think it was even Andrew Wade, Locked On Hawkeyes, we had on Tuesday. I think it was somebody else who was like, "It's a Kinnick, but it's not a night game, so like it's not." Like, I don't.
Yeah, but it will get dark eventually. It will get dark in like the fourth quarter. So that's where I put all my voodoo magic in, right there.
Yeah, maybe that was. Again, in this game, you're saying you're taking Iowa. I guess I got to take Iowa too, but just because it's not really the home field. I just think they're playing a little bit better, a little bit more established.
That Maryland game was a nice like, oh yeah, we're for real game right there. Because some people thought Maryland was going to pop them, but like they're like, no, we're just going to beat them by 95 points. That's to excuse any doubt right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very impressive win. Very impressive.
Yeah, I think the big talking points this week on the show have been that both teams' defenses are elite, and the thought might be that Penn State's offense is maybe just a little bit more ready with Jahan Dotson out there, Sean Clifford, the kind of explosive weapons
understandable
that those teams have. But I'm taking Iowa. Just I trust in the consistency. The Kirk Ferentz has been there, obviously longest tenured coach in all of college football. He's playing at home. He knows how to get up and ready for these big games in a way that, I mean, you know, Franklin does too. He's obviously had his fair share at Penn State, but I don't know. It's a game where, like, when you're picking a game between two top 5 teams, a lot of it's going to come down to just who you like more. And I kind of just like the consistency of what a Penn State team, at least I think, can bring. We'll see what happens when they get out on the gridiron. And I have no idea what to do with the over-under either. I don't care about 41. Is not something that
won't touch it.
Excites me in any way whatsoever. All right. Well, let's move on. I suppose might as well go straight to Sparty next, Matt. On the road against Rutgers. I believe I'm making sure that this line is the same as it was. Yes, -5 in favor of Michigan. Over-unders at 51. On the road, you're going to New Jersey, Big Ten country.
That's right, baby. For the old Scarlet Knights homecoming game. That's right. MSU should win this game. They, by all accounts, they should. I think they're more talented. I think as they stand right now in the season, that they're better. The spread, though, it just scares me a little bit. Like 5.5. If it got down to 4.5, I might be a little intrigued here. But what number does perk my ears up a little bit, gets the eyebrows raised, is the over/under of 51. I think both defenses kind of mirror each other in the sense that they will give up yards, but once it gets to the red zone, this is where they start to tighten up, bend, don't break, and touchdown opportunities just turn into field goals. Rutgers has had their kicking issues too, if you even want to throw that on top of there, and MSU's is it's better than bad, put it that way. With that said, yeah, I'm going to go under 51 here. It's plain and simple. I mean, both run games are going to have a hard time moving the ball. I don't know how much I trust Rutgers' passing game if the run game gets clogged for them. But so this is just a long way of saying that I don't think a lot of points will be scored. And 51, I think, is just a hair too high. I think the game will be 25-19. I think it's at 44 points. It's a full touchdown under of the under. So that's where I'm at there with that one.
Let's make it this question then. Are you more confident in Michigan State at its -5 or Michigan at its -3 on the road against Nebraska?
What, you know what? This is going to sound crazy, and I swear I'm not doing a homer play here because I usually do bet on Michigan and against Michigan State to hedge my happiness. But I think the better bet would be MSU -5. I think hey, listen, I the way I talk about Nebraska, you would think I didn't even own a television for week 0. Like I think Nebraska is a fine team. Like I think they're a solid team. I mean, yes, right. I mean, and I saw it with my own eyes against Michigan State, but even before that, like they had a pretty damn good game against Oklahoma. They beat the brakes off Northwestern, but okay, we know how much that means, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Night game in Lincoln, I would have a really hard time putting any money on Michigan -3. So yeah, this isn't me just being like, oh, Michigan's overrated. Like, no, they're a fine team, but oh boy. Road conference night game against a starving Nebraska team for just anything good in the Scott Frost era. No, I'm going to have to go MSU -5 if I had to play the confidence game here.
I mean, Nebraska, you look at the record, 2 losses on the road by single digits to ranked teams. The other 3 games, absolute dominant wins by 45 points, 25 points, and 49 points over Fordham, Buffalo, and then Northwestern. It's just the only thing is that you have that other 1 possession loss to start the season on the road at Illinois. I mean, you take that game off, Nebraska's still a plenty good football team here, but it was that one first impression in week 0 in front of everybody that just kind of puts that one thing in your head really for, well, it's been 5 weeks now. Maybe week 6, they can try to flip that script.
That's the downside of being one of 6 games in the entire college football season is that everyone that's an obsessed, college football sicko will just watch that game. And yeah, hey, I get it. I get the reasoning for everyone thinking that Nebraska is just absolutely dog believe. I mean, I don't think I do. I'm going to take both the favorites, Michigan State and Michigan. I don't think anyone's going to get too cute. I don't think there's going to be anything too cute happening in these games. I think there's plenty of candidates for that with matchups, but I don't think Michigan State and Rutgers or Michigan. I'd agree. Michigan, Nebraska more likely to maybe give us a surprise, but I don't think that either team should have any trouble. Moving on, Ohio State's hosting Maryland in another game where, we saw Maryland get beat up last week, or else we'd be more hyped up about this one too. Right.
Spread was at 21 points to start the week on betonline.ag as I go and make sure it's up to 21.5 at the moment. Over under might be the highest of all college football on the weekend. I'll make sure of that. 71.
Glad you said that because I saw 71 too, and I was like, absolutely not. No. I'm going under. And then I started to do a little bit of research here. The last 3 times these 2 teams have met, it's been an average combined total of 88 points when these guys play. So it's like these guys are just bludgeoning overs the last 3 years these guys meet. And listen, I get it. Like, okay, water's going to find its level. It'll come down to the mean here. And I would get that if the average was like at 72.73. It's like, they are lambasting the over here. Like, so I'm going to do something that I didn't think I'd be doing when I saw the line, and we're going over, baby. We're sending it through 21.5. Like you held a gun to my head and you said, you got to pick one of these teams. I guess Ohio State, just because they seem to, Ohio State's one of those programs that can right their wrongs in just a snap of a finger. And they were obviously able to do that last week against Rutgers. And Well, Maryland's quite the opposite. They can show that they're not as good as they seem to be at the beginning of the season. Snap of a finger, and that might have happened last week too. So if I had to pick a spread, minus 21.5 for Ohio State, but the bet I will make is over 71, baby. Take me to the moon. Let's go. Let's clear 100 points, fellas. So let's go.
BetOnline.ag is back and better than ever for football season. BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. But with a new updated site and interface and even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be your number one source for everything football. Head over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 100% welcome bonus. Again, use our promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% welcome bonus on your first deposit over at BetOnline. Go take a look at their new look and all the new things they have to offer for your betting needs. It's betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. I have faith in the Terrapins. 21.5 points, a lot of points. The offense is good. Ohio State's offense obviously can score 21 points in about half a quarter, but it can at the same time show that it can let teams stay with them for three and a half quarters before it just ends up pulling away at the end. So, I mean, it's 21.5 points. So it's not like it's when the spreads are this high, it's kind of just like a toss up as how many points teams feel like scoring. But it's also a thing where, I mean, Ohio State only beat Tulsa by 21 3 weeks ago. So
that's true. Yeah.
I'm not going to put my money on them being able to absolutely blow out a team when they don't have to. And they've kind of shown really that, like, they're not a team that, I mean, 52-13 against Rutgers last week, obviously is making a statement, but going up against a Maryland team that can also score the football, I don't know. I feel like this game could easily be something that's at least a little bit closer as we get down into the stretch of things. All right,
that's a good way of putting it, yeah.
Oh, by the way, I was going to point out there is one other 71 total, two teams that actually played Big Ten teams, UTSA and Western Kentucky, who's gotten, I think, a third mention on this show today now already.
Nice. Look at them. Go Hilltoppers, baby. Let's go.
One more game to wrap things up here, Matt. Illinois and Wisconsin face off in the lowest of the barrel battles in the Big Ten this week. Wisconsin's trying to find something here, and they've got, obviously, the opportunity against Illinois. The spread on betonline.ag as we look into this Saturday, Illinois plus 11 at home against the Badgers.
What a juxtaposition, huh? Just going from a game that's going to be fireworks with
I was going to say just a yucky game.
Just nuking it, and then then Illinois, Wisconsin here. Oh my goodness gracious! Aired on C-SPAN 3 at 2:30 in the morning. Wow. Okay. I think it's a low total, right? I think it's like a 42-point total.
Yeah, for a very different reason. The total is 42.
42. Yeah. So, Mike, listen, my rule of thumb, I don't love either of these teams, but my rule of thumb is when the total is that low, but the spread is still double digits, like if the ball just bounces one different way and just one score happens and it's not supposed to, like, okay, 11 points with that low of a total, that is a pretty big window to hit if Vegas is pretty adamant that it's going to be that low scoring of a game. So, I guess I'm going to take Brett Bielema and 11 points, sprinkle like a third of a unit on it just to say that I have skin in the game, just to keep my eyes somewhat interested on my sports score app. Yes, give me a filthy unit on Illini plus 11. No.
That's a really interesting point, just math. I mean, if they're projecting
it works more times than not.
That's a slimmer point spread. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that's an opportunity where, like, if you're thinking it through your head, if you want to find a platform that has same game parlays, go and throw that plus 11 with the under or the minus 11 with the over. It seems like both have to hit if one is going to hit. Maybe. I don't know.
It would be like a 15. Oh God, it would be like a 15 to. Oh God, I'm doing that so wrong here. I'm so sorry, Nate.
To both cover and hit the under, you'd have to get.
They're expecting a 15 to 27 Wisconsin win, is what they're saying. It's like if you could just, I don't know, get an extra field goal.
Right. Well, I mean, like 26-15 is 41 with an 11-point spread.
See, there we go. Yeah, like I just want one odd bounce of the ball the other way, and we've seen it done in recent history with Wisconsin, Illinois, with much superior Wisconsin teams and much worse Illinois teams. So let's. I don't know, just keep riding that, I guess. I mean, that defeat a few years ago in the last second field goal will remain in my head for the next 15 years. and will persuade how I bet Wisconsin, Illinois whenever they match up. That's how it goes.
Yeah. It was an exciting last about 30 seconds of us trying to add and subtract there at the end.
That's some Spartan math there, baby. That's right. Go green. It's that Big Ten education paying off in spades right there.
Hey, as long as the bank account stays positive, you're all good. Yeah, Matt is with us here on Locked On Big Ten every single Friday to talk about the best bets you can have this weekend going into the weekend. Matt, we've talked about a lot of different games. I guess, is there one thing that sticks out to you as far as like, this is where you should be looking if you're trying to make some money this weekend in the Big Ten? I'm trying to look just at the schedule. I mean, I don't know if there's anything that's like super great. I could say like, I like this, and that, but I don't know if there's anyone who like sticks out over like a group of three I would choose from.
Right. And all these bets, like I feel like are just 1 unit bets, which I hate to say, like I'd love to come on here with a bunch of bravado and saying like, oh, I'm hammering this. It's like, right. No, like I feel good about all the picks I've made, but I don't feel stellar about any of them. I guess if I had to pick one, it would be over 71 in OSU, Maryland. I mean, the one that on initial look, I thought, no way I'm going to do the over here. Yeah. And after looking more into it, and especially your explanation where it's going to be a track meet. Yeah. Give me over 71 as my best bet of the week, I guess. Or if we're going to go outside the Big Ten, Ole Miss -5.5 against Arkansas. Let's go. Lane Kiffin, take me to church, baby. Come on, let's go. That's where we're at.
I like, like it's the same deal, right? I don't really love anything. I guess I would put like before I was saying I was trying to pick like one out of the three. The three I was thinking was like I like the Maryland +21 just because I think that game can be close, but I don't like picking 21 points. I like honestly the over in Penn State, Iowa, just because I feel like I don't know, I'd like to root for scoring points in that game.
Yeah.
Not that much as I think it would actually happen. And then like I said, either of the favorites, Michigan State or Michigan, I don't think either of those teams are going to slip up in the way that those games are single possession. So either one of those, but again, none of them is either any really sticking out to me at all. It's like, oh, this is the biggest game. I guess Michigan State at Rutgers is the biggest like talent disparity given the spread that we have.
Yeah.
So I would say
so.
State -5 on the road at Rutgers. A lot of outside factors that get that game to be a loss for me, but I think just straight up football factors, it might be the safest one out there.
Hey, I like the way you think. I would love a stress-free win tomorrow. So,
all right, Matt. Well, we'll have that, of course, to talk about next week and anything else that happens throughout the Big Ten all weekend and throughout the week. Matt's on every Friday to talk betting lines with us and, of course, preview the rest of the Big Ten weekend. Matt, thanks for coming on. Remind people where they can hear your show and everything else that you're up to in sports.
That's right. Yeah, Locked On Spartans. Come yell at me on Twitter at Sheehan_sports. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not really active on Facebook or Instagram, really. So spend all my time in the wonderful app of twitter.com, baby. That's right.
There you go. All right. Matt Sheehan will be there. And of course, on Locked On Big Ten every Friday. I'm here every day reminding you of everything you need to be in the loop of in the Big Ten. We'll be back Monday, of course, with all the games to recap with Jay Stevens from over the weekend. Until then, you've been listening into Locked On Big Ten.